welcome back to the show. What's best for the patient is best for business. I'm Jerry Durham. Hopefully you guys know that by now. I've been time stamping a lot of these. This is December of 2025, which means PPS was about 5 weeks ago now. Probably getting closer to 6 weeks. And I ran into Clint Saraphino there, and we have met before. Yet we reconnected there, and we've had a phone call or two since then. And I wanted to bring him back on because I think he's doing some cool things that people need to hear about. A couple things. So we're going to start where Clint wants to start because Clint's going to share his story, and then, as always, we'll have a great conversation. So welcome, Clint, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate the invitation, and I'm pleased to be here. So just brief backstory for me. I've been a PT for almost 13 years. I've done the whole gamut of the traditional hospital-based, private patient or private clinic-owned based outpatient, the whole thing. Most recently, what I'm excited about is my time with the U.S. military. I was in Stuttgart, Germany with the U.S. military during COVID. That was a sweet opportunity to work on a multidisciplinary team and learn how that all functions. And then came back to the States and started my own practice, and actually started a nonprofit with a couple of colleagues as well. And so that's what I'm into these days. Just doing the PT thing, cash based, and growing my clinic, and then also standing up a nonprofit to help serve other communities that don't have access like we do in the States.
Here's what I want to do first, and this is, again, what's perfect is I just had Dr. Katie O'Bright on, and she's starting a primary care boot camp, and her experience and really where I believe her insights, this is my interpretation, and her reason why she's the perfect person to lead this is because she came from the military side, and she shared a little bit of that story. So let's run with that first, because this is probably going to run within 4 to 5 weeks after hers. And because I believe that model, it's not necessarily why we're talking about it or what we're going to go into, but we have to get more into this, for lack of a better term, primary care mindset. If we want to continue, by the way, it's December 2025. If we want to argue that we're professionals, we're a profession, we can't keep being I call it a tertiary caregiver, which we are now, sitting around twiddling our thumbs, waiting for people to show up, right? So Talk a little bit about, I want to hear right before you went there. So to bring us up to speed on how you got to Germany, it sounded like Germany, how you got to Germany, and then what it was like practicing in that model.
Yeah, I love it. First of all, I like Katie a lot. We've worked with her for some of the Con Ed stuff.
Cool.
She's solid.
Okay.
So she and her team are really great. So during COVID, I had my own cash-based clinic. I was kind of involved in several things. I had just finished fellowship in 2017. I was teaching for the fellowship. I was also teaching for a PTA program here in the Charlotte area. And then, COVID hit, and the adjunct faculty contract dried up. We stopped teaching Con Ed courses because everything was so unknown. And the cash-based clinics, or my cash-based caseload kind of dried up as well, just people not knowing what's going to happen. So I had maybe like 10 months of savings, and I was like, we'll just kind of write it out and kind of see. But one of my good friends and colleagues from fellowship, his name's Lee McCain. He's currently in the military still. He was in Germany, standing up what's called the POTFF program. The POTFF is the Preservation of the Force and Family, and it's primarily a special operations program. And they stand these up with green suiters, the enlisted or the military personnel, and then those service members hand them off to people like me who are contractors. So I went over there in 10 days. Actually,
hey, real quick,
please.
Clint, was that part of the U.S. or German?
So U.S. military.
It was U.S. military. Thank you.
U.S. Special Operations.
Wasn't quite sure. Okay.
Yeah, we have several bases in Germany, in fact. So
just making sure.
Yeah. So I had, in 10 days, I had 3 interviews and a job offer. And it was like, well, I guess this is kind of the open door to walk through. And so went through the process of relocating and relocated to Stuttgart, Germany. I worked with Lee. Lee's a PT. He handed over the reins to me, and then an athletic trainer, a couple of strength coaches, a dietitian. And so we built out what's called the physical performance domain. And that was what we did. We had very clear, lanes of the service member journey, who enters at what point. If they enter at the strength coaches and then they have an injury or a nagging problem, how do they pivot to athletic trainer or PT? And then the goal, kind of like the primary care model, was if something wasn't right in the PT eval or even the ATC kind of assessment, it's our job to push to the right provider. So we had kind of positioned ourselves as the central point, the hub of this wheel, if you will. So I could direct refer to the med shed, to primary care. I could direct refer to neurology, orthopedic, physiatry, whatever. And it was really cool to learn how to not just work on the physical performance domain with strength coaches and dietitians and athletic trainers, but also the medical side. And then the other element of this POTFF program is the chaplain core. So we had spiritual wellness, we had sports psychology, we had social work. So it was really providing these service members the holistic, well-rounded access to keep the force operational, to keep them deployable, and to maximize how they're performing, not just physically, but spiritually, psychologically, cognitively, and so on and so forth. So that was a really fun experience. And candidly, that's what I'm trying to build here on the civilian side, because it doesn't exist. Everything, as you know, on the civilian side is so siloized. You have your chiropractor who doesn't talk to the PT. They're going to Orange Theory, and these people are trying to train themselves to death and whatever. And if we just had a model that could integrate these specialties and subspecialties, the communities we live in, the communities we're serving would I think thrive. But it's territorial here on the civilian side. We got to make money, and it's been kind of an uphill battle of kind of creating those strategic partnerships and sharing the vision for the betterment of our communities here on the civilian sector.
Yeah, all I'm going to say about this, and I'll let it go, is you're sharing this, and I'm grinning. If no one's watching the video, I'm grinning ear to ear as you add every layer of service that's available. But by available, I mean within this, right, horizontal, not vertical, structure. And I'm just grinning ear to ear and going, so we bring it all the way to fucking Germany and then we forget to bring it home? What the fuck?
That's right. And by the way, this POTFF program is a congressionally sponsored program. So it's not even like that specific base is the one who decided to stand it up, right? It's the government saying, hey, this kind of a program is useful to maintain the deployability of our force, to keep them mission ready. And then, yeah, you're right. We not only forget about them in the VA on the way home.
Oh, but, God, dude. The VA flashed in my head, too, when you were sharing that. So I wasn't even talking about the VA yet. I was just thinking generally why it's not. But then I was thinking VA, and I was like, why, someone sits there waiting for 6 months to see someone in the VA, right?
Yeah. And then they go 6 weeks between PT visits and all the stuff. We have a really good model for the Special Operation Corps, and they're building it out for, the big army, right? The Thor programs, the H2F or whatever they're called. So they have some of these programs being built out, but you're right. It's still the military setting, and it doesn't exist in the civilian sector, at least not in the mainstream, and probably not well enough for me to be able to spout off who's doing it well.
Yeah. I said I wouldn't go any further on that, but we're at this point here. Again, it's December 2025. So if someone's listening to this in a year and 2 years, right? And here we are struggling for payment, struggling for even to be designated a fucking profession, and everything else. I have never understood, and we don't need to get into this, and I'm not going to argue this with anybody right now anyway, but I've never understood why we just don't walk in everywhere and go, if it's good enough for the military, why is it not good enough for the citizens of the country? And again, for military within the U.S., and then walk out the fucking door, man. We spin our wheels, right. And we spend too much time talking about ourselves. That's for another day yet again. We spend too much time talking about ourselves, but again, funded that, because the kicker was when you said funded by Congress, it's like we should be in front of every congressperson going, you voted for this. So should I go let your constituents know that you don't care about them, but we funded this for, right? They'll be happy we funded it for the people serving our country overseas, but I'm good. I'll let it go now.
Yeah.
We
can chase that rabbit, but it's a long trail.
Yeah, because the more you start doing this, I'm going, wow, impressive. And I'm grinning going, wow. And it worked. And you said how great it was. And I love you checked all the boxes. I mean, there was no box left, right? Nutrition, spiritual, right? Fitness, all of it, MSK, right? Blah, 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 blah. And
Yeah.
then if needed, the more niche down, narrow focused specialties instead of starting with the niche down, narrow focus
Yeah.
specialties.
I will tell you this, only during my time in that role in Germany, when I had physiatry do stem cell injections in PRP, that's been the most successful regenerative med
Yeah.
interventions I've ever experienced.
Because
And
everybody working it, right? Isn't that funny? Oh, it won't work. What happens if we, took it, right? Yeah, again.
well,
Yeah.
on top of that too, it's like, okay, cool, Mr. So and so or Major so and so, you just had this procedure, and then let's go back and go right back to full time life. And it's like, hey, for us, how do we build that into the civilian side and actually create a structured retraining program so that stuff can actually help and set up and take so the body can regenerate instead of just getting stuck on a bunch of PRP
Yeah.
and then, sent back to Orange Theory and just obliterate your knee again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So cool. I appreciate you sharing all that because I did not know that. So you come back. When did you come back? How long were you there?
I was there for 2 years. I had some life changes happen, came back in later 2022, I guess. And yeah, at that point in time, I had a couple of just kind of part-time, short-term things I was doing before we launched the clinic. We've been 2 years in the clinic now, so had about a year of some transition time back to the civilian side, trying to figure out what to do.
So did you try to reproduce that here with your new clinic?
Yeah, I was just talking to another patient or client about this before I got on here. It's been an uphill battle. It's so
Yeah.
territorial that other PTs don't want to work together. Massage therapists, chiropractors, even like dentists, regenerative med, Invigory and stuff, all these places that have the holistic model. Um, on one hand, they're welcoming to come in and do the marketing. Sure, come into our running club and do the marketing, but they also have 6 other PTs and chiropractors doing marketing. I have had a very hard time, candidly, finding the right strategic partner, establishing those kind of relationships where it's not just, oh, hey, by the way, here's a PT that I know. It's like, hey, here's the
Team.
PT
This
and
is the
here's the
team,
pet.
dude.
Yeah, and it's the concept is what I call a blue ocean. There's no competition in a multidisciplinary model right now. Yet the red ocean is there are a bunch of PTs, there are a bunch of regen clinics, there are a bunch of holistic, infrared saunas and all this stuff. And it's just it's like how do we get those players on a team and change the mindset where we're not competing against each other for market share. We're creating a brand new market and a brand new service offering for the civilian sector. So, we're definitely not flourishing right now. We're making things work, but I'm waiting for that opportunity to partner with the right group. I have some strategies that I've tried to play out, and we can talk about those. But it's always just been like, yeah, cool, great, and I'll send you my patients, and they don't send patients.
From the PT side, I've been using a slide now, and it's become my first slide in every talk. Only 10% of the people who can benefit from physical therapy ever get to a physical therapist.
Yeah,
And it's interesting because that stat hasn't changed in like 20 years. And yet we sit there and fight for the 10%, and it's embarrassing.
yeah,
Everybody's like my competition. I'm like, what? Who?
sure,
I'm like, which goes back to, right? Who's your ideal client? Who are you going to serve? Well, everybody. Oh, fuck yeah. You're going to fail anyway.
yeah,
So, but it's an interesting conversation. And then the whole thing, we're best incentivized by where our paycheck comes from and how we get paid. Let's face it. And, you've been in 13 years. I've been 34.
yeah.
I had a full fucking head of hair. And I have a picture to prove it. Just in case.
Well, mine's just pulled back, but I do have
There you go. Yeah.
matching forehead.
Right. Yeah. And so I think No, I don't think. I know that we're at a tipping point here because fee for service has never improved in my 34 years. And now the model that you just described is going to be the norm more than the exception. And all of a sudden there's going to come this huge wave. God forbid I say a tsunami, but it's going to be that huge wave where everybody's standing out there on a beach, can't even see the water. And next thing you know, that wave comes crashing down, and it's going to happen. So I always challenge people, what is your mindset, right? Are you ready? That's why I want to revert back to what uh, Katie's doing is, right. And that's her boot camp. It's just to prepare people. She's not saying
Yeah.
start today, and there's another mindset I want to address. So we got fee for service, right? How you're paid.
Right.
We got this mindset. We don't understand the people we serve. And then the third one is, oh my God, where was I going? Oh, everybody believes when I started having this conversation, well, I can't afford to start something new. I'm like, no, I didn't say that. Just take one fucking PT, take one provider, take one person,
Yeah.
and create this slot on your scheduling system that accommodates these people, and then watch it fill up, and now start creating another one, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
I just came to this conclusion not very long ago, right? If we don't talk about the here and now and how you're going to get paid here and now, then you lose everybody, right? And
Right.
you go out and say, let's partner up on this, and everybody thinks they got to shut everything down and start over. And it's like, no one ever said that, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So when I started my clinic, I met with 4 physicians, or
What
3
kind?
physicians, um, interventional anesthesiology, a hand surgeon specialist, orthopedic surgery, not attached to a hospital, so like a private ortho surge,
private, yeah.
and then a DMP who specialized in weight management and hormone replacement therapy.
Okay.
And the physician side, they were trying to figure out, well, yeah, I can just create this PT rehab program on my own
Right.
and build this out, and you can just come under me. And it's like, no, like that's not the way that we want to work this, because then you're playing the same game again. You're still playing
right.
the
You're just
insurance game.
recreating the same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The most successful conversation I had was with that DMP to create a collaborative kind of premier kind of program. She could support my patients with hormones and weight management concerns, and I could support her patients with some of the lifestyle strategies, sleep, and some nutrition elements, very fundamental stuff. And then also the physical training stuff. Like, can we just move more and strategically? I'm a big fan of like Peter Attia and the outlive kind of idea. It doesn't have to be super sexy stuff at CrossFit or High Rocks or whatever. It just needs to be strategic and intentional in how you do this. And all of this, like all those 4 examples, just it fell through because it was like we share in the idea, but it didn't materialize into any sort of relationship and partnership to endeavor on something new. It was always like, well, how does this fit in the current model? And it's like that. It doesn't fit in the current model.
Yeah, correct. You got to create it. And the incentives are flowing there, right? I just saw Medicare approved the technology for chronic stuff, and I already did a post today. I'm like, good luck if you just take your tech and embark on that, because if you haven't done your work, right, you still got to do work. That's the other thing. I don't know, people just think they're going to pivot into a new space, right? Like this, I'll just hire a bunch of people. No, you just recreated the same fucking problem.
That's right.
Yeah. I was thinking as you were sharing that, because, dude, 15 years ago, right, when, at some point in time, when I learned the phrase right person, right place, right time in healthcare, and there's different ways of saying it, and people have modifications, but that's literally what it is. Someone calls, okay, how do I get this person to the right place at the right time? Is it today? Is it tomorrow? Is it 2 weeks, right?
Right.
And the first time I heard that, it really hit hard. I was like, man, we waste people's time. And it wasn't we're wasting money, anything. I was just like, fuck, we waste people's time so much, right? Who need help and not necessarily our help. Dude, when I first started doing the front desk stuff, and I only converted 65% of the calls. So that means 35 out of 100 people I couldn't help. I was like,
right,
damn. And it wasn't damn I'm fucking up. It was damn, I got to make sure these people get to the right place, was my gut reaction, right? And then when I shared that with our clinic owners, they're like, oh, yeah, we can skip that part. Yeah, don't share that with my team. I'm like, I'm confused here, right? And so
Yeah.
this idea of, because I'd go into the orthopedic offices and their clinics are slammed. I'd go, what percentage of those people out there are going to convert to surgery? Oh, about 20%. I'm like, holy shit.
Hmm.
What a waste of time, money, and energy on both fronts, right? But
Right.
no one,
Right.
I'm like, I'll screen them for you. I'll send you the surgical ones, and then non-surgical ones won't ever find you because
Right.
why you want them in your clinic, right?
Yeah. That's right.
So right
Yeah.
person, right place, right time, right? Which you're sharing.
Yeah. And I mean, in my experience, it's also been, I need as a physical therapist, a network for physicians that think a little bit differently, that aren't just going to put them right into the protocol of images and injections and whatever else is. But the physicians don't often, maybe they know what we know, but they don't lean into it because that's not how they get paid. They get paid for the procedures and the interventions.
Yeah,
And so,
right. They're getting paid like $35 for an office visit and
right,
$10,000 for a procedure. I'm like,
right.
I'm not a math guy.
Well, and then if you ask them to send the patients back after their procedure, hey, give me this window. You just did the epidural, you just did the medial branch block, whatever else. Great. Like, send them back to me. Let's maximize this window. And they're like, well, they're going to really need 2 or 3 of these over the next 6 weeks. And it's like, now they're just in your system. Like, you're not really serving the patient. You're serving the bottom line.
Yeah, it's been a journey, man, in
Yeah,
34
for sure.
years. And I'm I'm at the tail end, so we could say whatever we want about my experience and where I am in this, but I'm glad because the other slide I share now in every one of my talks, which is usually the one right after that one, is how I pulled up the stats from the year I entered left PT school to the stats today about life expectancy in the States,
Hmm.
healthcare costs in the States, and the number of like low back surgeries, lumbar surgeries. All of it is all fucking worse in
Yeah.
whatever direction it needed to go. So I go, look, I've been in this 34 years. So, and I put those up because I put it up in a talk at PPS, and I put them both up and I said, look, I'm putting this up here. I want you guys to sit in this and think about this, because when you raise my hand and tell me it won't fucking work, you're going to have to answer to these,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so you're going to have to answer to this. And now it's my obligation. I stood in front of a group and said, I'm leaving it worse than I found it. So I'm obligated to show you guys it's worse, and you can't keep doing it the same way.
Right.
So again, I believe Katie shared in the podcast, and it's actually dropping tomorrow. Doesn't matter when people listen to this, but there were a couple of huge lines in there she said where I was just like, whoa. And one of them is she has actually had orthopedic surgeons and primary care doctors coming to her asking if she knows of PTs that they can partner with, right, in this manner.
Yeah.
So
That's,
it's out there. And
yeah,
because she used that in context of what you said, and I'll stop here, is that PT's going, well, no one wants to talk about this. No one will listen to me. And she's like, but they're coming to me. So, and that's the other thing with PTs. I did it once and it didn't work, right?
sure.
That's what else I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Finding the right opportunities. Um,
And you're going to have to ask 100 people
yeah,
to find that one person, right?
that's right. Yeah, which is encouraging for me. I just need to keep
Yeah.
knocking on doors, keep scheduling those visits for myself, or those marketing events for myself. But yeah, whenever Katie listens to this, I'd love to tap into whatever the Charlotte market is, for sure.
Yeah, right.
So this conversation actually dovetails well into my current endeavor with this nonprofit. It's
Sure.
interesting
Yeah.
that we talked about, um, your slide of these things are the same from 35 years ago till today. That the back surgery is increasing, all the disability is increasing, the healthcare load and the insurance load is increasing. Yeah, and
Life
the reimbursement,
expectancy actually decreased in my lifetime, dude.
the insurance reimbursement has, right?
Yeah. And life expectancy.
Yeah, life expectancy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
all
one of
of
the
it, dude.
things
All of it. Yeah. All of it.
which is wild. So one of the things we wanted to do with the nonprofit is provide access to care, call it the direct primary care kind of idea, for people in communities that are low economic resource. So right now we're in Cameroon, Africa, which is super cool, and we are training up these PTs to have additional skills, manual skills, intervention, selection, progressing exercise, regressing exercise, whatever else, modalities and all this, in order to then help to offload the community burden on the healthcare system, which is extremely limited, and also help to increase access to not just quote unquote healthcare, medical care, but also access to not having to depend on this broken system by improving your function, improving your overall capacity to do life, which is super cool. And it's what we want to do in the States too. It's just there's a little bit different hurdles to overcome in the
Well,
States.
it's funny. You say that, and with the context of what we just talked about, my brain just went, yeah, why not? I bet it's easier. Simpler?
It has been so far.
Let's call it simpler. How about it?
Yeah, well, it's pretty straightforward because, in Cameroon, as our example, is, that there are only between 1,200 and 1,600 PTs for the whole country. We've already trained 150 of them. So we're at let's say a 10% margin, which is pretty cool. But we trained them in manual therapy. I taught a course over there in March of 2025. And it was a spine course. Just here are some manual therapy techniques, head to tail, really. And not only do we teach the manual therapy skills, but also the differential diagnosis and the intervention selection. Because you can be a really good technician, right? But being a clinician and actually helping people beyond just a maintenance plan, so to speak, is really the timing of what intervention you select. When do you select it for the right person,
right place, right time, right?
Exactly. Same thing we've already said. And then we've also had some modalities courses, some Easton modalities for hey, these are relatively inexpensive devices to ship and to have access to over there. How can we use them not just for pain relief, but also for some neurorehabilitation function, also for some to prevent atrophy or all these things. These in the States, we go modalities don't work, they don't really work. It's like, well, we're teaching a multimodal approach, like you just said, right person, right place, right time. We're not just technicians hooking you up to an ultrasound or hooking you up to an Easton unit, letting you hang out for 20 minutes. It's going to be intentional. So it's pretty cool. They're super hungry to learn, what they think is, hey, the US healthcare system, these PTs from the US are exceptional. And it's cool, maybe I am, but also
right. So let's leverage it. People want to learn. Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe I'm not also the representation of the rest of the PTs or the rest of the healthcare model, right? So we're actually changing healthcare, the way there's access to healthcare, in a low economic developing country, which is really kind of where we have to prove the concept first to kind of create these ideas that maybe then reinforce whatever research we can pump out of it after that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to unpack there. Yeah, it's always interesting how someone who loves to post and go, hey, here's a research article, this doesn't work or only this works. And I'm like,
right.
You control down beyond what you think you controlled. And my kick always is you left out expectations. You left out social determinants. You left out so much. I'm like, how the fuck do you really believe this is? And, basically all PT research I open ends with this warrants further study. And I'm like, is that what everybody's getting paid to talk about? And then, more of the qualitative versus quantitative type thing. And everybody on the quantitative side is the most snobbiest fucking bunch of people, right? Qualitative, really, okay, that's cool, but it's qualitative. And it's yeah, it's called the real fucking world, right? You can't,
right, yeah.
I mean, you cannot control down a freaking human being, anybody on the face of the earth, right? All the complexity of everything. So, yeah, it's always a big kick. I'm like, what does this really tell us?
Well, that's what's crazy is qualitative research is the gold standard in several disciplines, right? Like Brene Brown as a, shame-based, researcher, you can't measure with a number or with a degree of, some sort of psychological, emotional, cognitive sort of element. So yeah, they have to be coded in a qualitative manner. And then you have to, so it's accepted to have qualitative research in some disciplines. Why can't it also be accepted in PT or medicine? And I don't know the exact answers, but
it's so funny.
Forget the human experience.
Yeah, it's so funny to hand someone who knows they're in a research project a survey and tell them to figure it out. And I'm like, you already biased them. You told them it was a research study. They don't want to fuck it up. They don't want to be the wrong one. They don't want to be the only one, right? I'm like, you just totally biased it. And I don't know. We can
Well, on
go
top of
into
that, if you're the primary investigator, you can control in most situations what data gets reported and
yeah, there you
analyzed
go on top of
versus
everything else, right?
what you throw out. You know, I mean, there are a ton of examples, at least that I'm personally and professionally familiar with, that yeah, you can make the research say whatever you want if you include these participants and exclude these participants, and just you lost the data set, and oh hey, magically it meets this p value for significance. Woohoo!
Yeah. I mean, the studies on like cancels where, you go to these large healthcare facilities and you look at like, the last 30,000 visits. And I love the way they break that stuff down and go, okay, what do we do next? I'm like, okay, this is valuable information. Again, and there's no assumptions there. It's just boom, these were all the people. These are the people that canceled. They fell into these 5 categories. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Right. I can work with that. So now what are you doing? So talk more about what's that project called when you go to
So
Cameroon?
yeah, the nonprofit is called Global Physio Training. Um, we have 6 programs that we've identified we want to build. We're currently building 4 of them or 3 of them as of 2025, and we have a structure for 2026 to build out the next 2 to make it 5 total that we're making progress on. The workshops and the seminars are one of the programs. That's the technical skills and part of that clinical reasoning, differential diagnosis. How do you learn what you need to learn, and then also learn how to apply it. The other programs that we have developed so far are a mentorship program, and it's both clinical and career. So you can imagine USPTs have the same kind of career issue, right? We kind of go, hey, I picked ortho to start out, and I don't even really like ortho, or like, I kind of like peds or pelvic floor better. And you kind of waste a couple of years,
Yeah.
deciding what you want to take Con Ed in, and then revealing, oh, cool, I really like this better. So career mentorship is a big piece for us. And then we are working with a university there in Yaoundé in Cameroon to build out essentially what would be akin to residencies in the USPT world. So it's the same, core functions: ortho, neuro, pediatrics, oncology. I'm missing 1 or 2, geriatrics. So we're consulting with them to build out that curriculum. They're called master's tracks there. But one of the limitations that we have identified is that people who would be teaching that information are not subject matter experts in those disciplines. So we have ortho support, neuro support, sports support to train up the trainers essentially. And then the 4th thing that we've done in 2025 is identify some partners to build out some resource donation opportunities. So I don't know if I can use all their names on this kind of a
You can
platform,
do
but
whatever the hell you want. Yeah. Either
yeah.
way,
So David
do it.
Rowan at SME has been just super stoked to be a part of GPT and our journey, Global Physio Training. They've supported us in donating supplies to then execute some of these seminars and courses. And then there's another group called myohealth.fit. We use their eStim units both for recovery and for like electric dry needling. So we've built these partnerships out so that we can help to offload our costs as a nonprofit, especially when we're bringing resources to low economic populations, which is kind of the whole idea. So those are the 4 we've so far made progress on and kind of built out a more formal structure. The last 2 are exchange programs and actual brick and mortar training and treatment facilities in Cameroon. So we would love, again, the idea of train the trainers. We would love to have a place where those clinicians can come to the States under a visa and work with me in my clinic, or Nate in Colorado Springs, or anywhere else we can kind of identify, and have them on site, one-on-one mentorship in this like exchange relationship, and then use them to staff and serve the brick and mortar facilities in their
Back in
communities.
Cameroon. So
Yeah.
back. So yeah. Yeah. I mean, right. That's the thing is as simple as I was on a call with some people about their front desk. I'm like, my goal is to train the front desk people to manage themselves and hold each other
Yeah.
accountable. This isn't about building more layers. So, I mean, same thing. How are we going to train the trainer?
Yeah.
I hate to throw you under the bus. Hopefully this isn't throwing you under the bus. So we started out with this primary care model. So is the idea with a lot of this training to really give people this like clinical reasoning to know right person, right place, right time type approach? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So in all of our coursework, we've built out that differential diagnosis. Like, what would you do? Or is it not appropriate to see this person and do this thing? We also are working with another partner of ours. He's on our board to build out a direct access kind of certification or direct access, primary care kind of content.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Because then we can have those providers, maybe manage some wounds, maybe say like, hey, I can actually functionally read an x-ray and I can see more about what's going on. But have those direct access skills, and even say like, hey, this is an infection, like this is some sort of systemic GI stuff. That's what your back pain is caused from, or this is like maybe the beginning of some sort of malignancy. And that's why, you have the pelvic floor dysfunction or whatever else. Like, this is not something we can treat with PT, or at least not only, we need to get something else involved first. So yeah, really and truly, the model we talked about at the beginning is what we're trying to instill. Again, since there's resistance in the US markets, let's take it to places that really actually do.
There you go. Here we go. And as soon as you said that, after our first 20 minutes, I was smiling going, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah. So like you can imagine, in a third world country, there are some big cities, and Yaoundé and Douala are very big cities in Cameroon. But between those cities, kind of like in the Midwest or in the South, there's nothing. There are villages. The power goes out frequently. Internet is very unreliable, and so on and so forth. So to embed providers in these communities that actually, they don't just have snake oil and like just good vibes. It's actually like real skills to help manage pain and to help manage function, but also then to say, hey, you really need to take the 6-hour trip.
Yeah, right.
Into
town, right? Not
like this is not something that's going to get better.
The first day you wake up, right?
That's exactly
it's so
right.
different than right person, right place, right time. Man, I'm glad I brought that up, and not so I could keep saying it, but it really, all of this fits, right?
Yeah, totally.
So what's the plan for? You alluded some, but what's the plan for 26 for the business, for the programs, all of it? Get more money, number one, for the program.
So here's what I'm learning. So nonprofits operate as a business, right? It's just a matter of what you do with the profits and what you do with the revenue that then turns into financial assets to execute the mission of the nonprofit. So currently what we are doing is we've set up fundraising campaigns. We are tapping into our personal and professional networks. We're tapping into grant opportunities and sponsorship because, all of 2025 so far, literally everything has been bootstrapped by the three of us. My PT colleague in Cameroon, his name is Val, Nate Henry, who is our other partner, he's in Colorado Springs, and myself. And so there's only so many of our financial resources to put into this. But, the first year having 150 people trained and having, I think we offered 12 or 15 courses. That's like the beginning of what's possible. But the next step isn't possible if we don't identify grants and sponsorships and other financial partners to help us execute the mission.
Yeah. So there's that, and then the business here is sounding more and more interesting because with your context of how we started, right? So then the business. What about your business here? Where is it? Is it in Charlotte?
I'm in the Charlotte market. I'm in Fort Mill, South Carolina. So just 6 miles south of the line. So is your, by the way, no mission, no margin, no mission, profit, exactly.
Not for profit, right? You got to have a margin, right? You can't just be paying bills.
That's
and by the way, when I get in pro bono arguments with PTs, I always love killing the argument. The single best way to stop the argument is go, do you want to get paid? And then they stop fucking putting up all the bullshit about how making money doesn't matter. And I'm like, well, fuck, if you don't want to get paid, you had to work awesome. And then the conversation just fucking dies.
Making money isn't the only thing, right? Like we all have a mortgage or a rent to pay. We all have to,
well, you got to get to Cameroon. You got to help people. You got to, once you get there, you got to be able to get a hotel room and freaking feed yourself. Let's not be stupid about this.
That was the crazy thing. The content built itself. Nate and
Yeah.
I both together, he's been a PT for 15 or 16 years. I've been a PT for 13 years. Val, our colleague there, has been a PT for 20. And so like
Wow.
we have the content just based
Yeah.
on our specialization and the things that we've already learned and now we can share it. So like there was no lift on building the content other than time. You're right. The logistics and the operational expenses, those are all the things that it's like, cool. Now we need the bridge to take this content, not just to Cameroon, but we have contacts in Puerto Rico, Honduras, Guatemala, Malaysia. So those are like the opportunities are there to go plant those orchards so people can sustain themselves instead of just giving them, a snack and satisfying their hunger
Well,
for
that's
a
always
day,
that
right?
thing. We showed up and treated 500 people and went home. I'm like, cool. What's the lead behind,
Yeah. So it's funny you say that. There was a group, I won't name the group, but they go to like Dominican Republic, I believe, or maybe Haiti, and they do like knee replacements, hip replacements, shoulder rotator cuff repairs and stuff. And they bring PTs with them, but they're only in country for
I
like
think
12
I've
to
seen
14
this. Yeah.
days.
And then they're
And it's
gone.
like, then let us come. Like, let's figure out a way to come with you. And while we're there, instead of us treating the patients, let's train the people that will continue to treat the patients. Otherwise, like, cool, you gave them a brand new knee, brand new hip, but like, how sustainable is that just for them to just rehab themselves? Like, let's train the trainers. Let's
Yeah.
provide education to the providers.
I'm going to say a name because I thought you were going this direction, but the Stand Haiti group, they did they were and do a great job of that, right? Where over time they were training the trainers. Then they created a school, right? Blah, blah, blah. So it
Yeah,
was that idea of what's the lead behind, right? How are
correct.
we going to, how is this thing, for lack of a better term, it's how are we going to scale this thing up, right?
That's
Instead of being
exactly
one
right.
person showing up, right? How are we going to scale it up? So
Yeah.
Stand Haiti is a great example of that, and watching them morph over time and doing more. Okay, we go here now. Now here's our plan for next time. Here's the plan, and having a structure to scale it up so it becomes, for lack of a better term, self-sufficient, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's been again, just learning about the nonprofit idea and even running my own business to the extent that I'm running it to have the 5-year budget and the 5-year vision and plan. I'm really good at like getting 70% of the project done. And then the last 30, I got to either hand off or like it doesn't get done. So it's been cool to build out, wireframe out what's the future content, where are the future countries we want to go to, how can we then train up those people so that they can be self-sustaining. We then become a team of leaders leading the points of contact in these countries, and then they can continue to precipitate the information to those providers and to those clinicians in the area. So it's been cool to have that like big lofty vision and then actually execute this first year in a way that a lot of nonprofits don't make this kind of progress in their first year of existence.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. That's good to hear. Yeah, congratulations. Seriously.
Well, I don't mean that as like a brag. I just mean like
No, I know.
it's
That's why I
cool
say
when you have the right team
congratulations.
in
No,
place.
you
Thank
got
you.
to, well, but you got to celebrate the wins. I learned that early
Yeah,
on.
that's true.
Sometimes we're so self-depreciating that we beat ourselves down, and when we should
Oh
be
yeah.
celebrating a win,
Well, I
it's either
appreciate
one or
that.
the other. It's we don't celebrate the wins and we beat ourselves down, or we over celebrate, take the foot off the gas, and everything falls apart. I'm
That's
like,
right.
let's have the party, let's get fucked up, let's high five, and let's wake up tomorrow and keep going. Right?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously. So that's why I say congratulations on
I
that.
appreciate that.
Knowing that, right, a fucking lot of work in front of you.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, cool, 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 cool. I mean, what else? You got oh, wait, we started going this direction and got off of it. So you're in Charlotte area. You got the business here because I can already hear, why aren't you doing this in the States? But hopefully if anybody listened this far, they understand that this isn't either or thing, right? And if you shared more than enough during the first 30 minutes of this to know how difficult it is. And by the way, the money you would spend here to try to recreate the same thing would probably be tenfold. And you
Yes.
would constantly be going, okay, we got zero result from that spend, right?
Yeah. So I appreciate that you asked this question. we have started relationships here in the States in the same with the same kind of idea in mind. So we strategically use the term low economic resource populations because there are low economic resource
Well,
populations
right. And,
in the
and,
States
and
too.
anybody listening to this who's been in this for more than a year understands, wait a minute, I live in LA, man. There are parts of LA that, right, that
Exactly.
are following that. So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter where you are, right?
So this year we offered two dry needling system courses, one for hand therapists. We offered that here in the Charlotte market, and we offered to Western Carolina their PT program, a sports dry needling system. And we can talk about the content in a minute if you like. But what our goal was is to identify universities that want to distinguish themselves so that their students come out with more of these advanced technical skills to help either their clinical practice if they're in a well-to-do cash-based scenario, great, fine, but also have these skills and shorten the ramp and the runway time for them to actually make a meaningful difference in whatever setting they're in. And so strategically, we started with a relationship we have in the Asheville area at Western Carolina. And Appalachia is classically low economic resource. They have tourism, of course, but there's not a lot of industry out there. And similar to the Cameroon example of having to travel several hours to, civilization, so to speak, a lot of these people,
right?
Yeah, they have to travel an hour or 2 hours to go to their VA appointments or go to whatever else. So the same kind of idea, we don't want to necessarily go after big, huge universities that are already have the ability to build their own content, but can we support, we have a list of 7 other universities that are interested in bringing us in to start this training process for their PT students to distinguish them, like I said, but also to carry on the mission of, hey, these people are in, the Shenandoah Valley, or they're in Lynchburg, Virginia, areas that don't have quite the esteemed access. Like you said, in LA, you can still find
Well, in LA,
resource
right? You got both, right?
Of
You
course.
got all the
In Charlotte, you have both. Yeah. Chapel Hill, New York. Yeah. All these. So that's really what we want to be able to offer, not just to justify our cause, but to really say, like, the same kind of idea. You can be a PT who doesn't give a shit. You can be like the best technical trained person. You got all sorts of skills. You use the cold laser, you use the shockwave, yada, yada, yada. But again, like we've been saying, right person, right time, right? Like, you can be a technician without being a clinician. You can have some skills without having any expertise. So we're starting the foundation to build expertise, not just internationally, but with these PT schools, so that they can come out not just saying, hey, I did needling in PT school and now I can do it, but also say, like, yeah, well, why would you want to do it for this person? And when do you do it? Do you do it right after the surgery? Do you do it right after the injury? Like, why would you do it this way? If they don't want to do needles, what else could you do, right? Like, build the clinical reasoning into the programs. And that's, I think, what sets us apart from several other, con ed companies here in the States, where it's like, cool, you can get certified in every freaking thing you want, but you have another technical skill. Do you know when to use it? Do you know why to use it? Maybe you do, but how much of that is baked into the curriculum versus what you've just self-selected and done your own research on?
Which doubles us back to the beginning, because if you're thinking that way, then you're prepared to go back into your community. I think this is what you're saying too. And
Yeah, I have patients
go
in
back
clinic
into your community and be this
That's right.
primary source of information and
Yeah.
and access, right? Let's call it primary source of access and information for the people in your community.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, I have patients come in all the time and they're like, hey, my neighbor said I should try dry needling. Do you think that'd be a good fit for me? And it's like, well, let's talk more about it. Like, what's going on, right? Like, give me your story. And then turns out they have tattoos, but they don't actually like needles. I don't think needling is the right intervention for you, like let's figure, or they're like, oh, you don't have the laser. I'm going to go back to my chiropractor because he has the class 4 laser. And it's like, fine, like knowing when to use it and why to use it. Yeah, that's the trick. That's the art.
Yeah, it's all good stuff, man. Anything else you want to add to
just to harken back to your point about points of access in the military, that POTFF model, service members, when they PCS and when they get restationed at a different place, they can come into at least the performance domain any place. They can come in and just do training sessions. The strength coaches get to kind of screen and do a movement screen. And
they're still in a
question,
screen, right? So here we go again. Yeah. So everybody in the system, and I heard this earlier, everybody in the system knows their lane.
Yeah,
and knows, right, their role. Their role is to make sure this person in front of me is at the right place at the right person with the right
that's
person
right.
at the right time.
Yeah. My athletic trainer screened a guy. He's like, oh, I was playing basketball and I strained my calf. And turns out he had a blood clot. He had a DVT. And she screened him and she said, hey, I want you to look at this really quick. And I said, yeah, I think you're right. Like we did the whatever Waddell criteria. And so she walked him straight to the med shed for either a Doppler or an ultrasound. And it's like, that's the reason, right? You know, if you would have seen me, perhaps I would have also seen it. But she's like, hey, this is an acute DVT. This is like, we got to get this handled now. But he didn't have to wait in line anywhere. He didn't have to go to the main clinic or whatever else.
6 weeks, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. So again, I want this is how I want to wrap this up. Everything,
Yeah, of course.
there was this nice little circle here, right? Everything came full circle to, hey, we're doing these programs in the States that are going to prepare people to, I'm going to say, to be this primary point of entry and be able to say, are you the right person in the right place at the right time?
Yeah.
That's it.
And once we figure it out here, I think there are worldwide populations that would benefit from just a fraction of that information and understanding.
Oh, and I've said this over and over. I've got a clinic in Hong Kong in my pipeline, right? Wants to do front desk work. And it's so funny. I tell people, oh yeah, I've worked with people around the world. I've worked with people in UK. I've worked with people in Australia. I've worked with Canadians, and they go, wow, but it's so different. Check this out. You'll love this.
Yeah.
It's so different. And I'm like, how? Well, their payment model. And I'm like, who the fuck cares about the fucking payment model?
That's right.
How the fuck would that impact how you're going to interact and work with the person sitting across from you who says, I need your help, right? I mean, here we are. I was one of the first people I ever knew who used to give out phone numbers at other PT clinics when we couldn't schedule. And it was like I was curing fucking cancer, or causing cancer, depending on who was in the room, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so different. And I knew where they were going. So I was go, oh, interesting. How? The pair model. I'm like, what do you know about the pair model? And by the way, the more you spend time in Canada, it is so fucking similar. It's far more similar than anybody thinks, pair wise too, for physio. So yeah. So again, all of this, it doesn't matter where you are. And again, I love this conversation because you tell me you're going to Cameroon, and after our intro, I was like, yeah, that sounds like a smart way to prove your process. And right. I mean, it's a win-win-win, man. You're getting to prove the process. You're making probably a bigger impact. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's a force multiplier, right? Yeah. Like if we can train these very few PTs that exist relative to the United States or other places to be far more competent, they can help 1,000 people in their community every year. Maybe it's 10,000 or 50,000 over their career. Those are the things that it's like, yeah, this is the force multiplier.
And that's where, by the way, that's where this great country called the United States of America has to get to, dude. We can't just be 40 visits a week, 50 visits a week, right? How many people are we impacting? How many individuals are we impacting? And by the way, I've said this a million times, you impact some people by never putting them in your fucking system. That's the greatest impact you can have on them too, right?
Yep. And right person, right time.
Yeah. And so, right, as we talk about this, right, and everybody knows my bent on all this is my goal has always been to own the front door, right? Knock, 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 telephone, and doing the triage and making sure I have Dr. Clint scheduled at 10 o'clock with the right person who should be seeing him at that time, right?
That's right.
So, this is cool. This is great. So where can people find you?
Yeah, so I can share with you links to our website and our financial campaigns. Our website is globalphysiotraining.com. We are using a group called Zephy for our fundraising campaigns. They work with nonprofits and they don't take any credit card fees out. That's kind of their shtick. So that's every dollar that's donated goes directly to the cause instead of to credit card fees. And then we do have a growing presence on social media. That's been a bit of a a slower burn, but we are Global Physio Training on Instagram and Facebook both.
Cool. Cool. All right.
Yeah,
Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you.
likewise.
I got to be honest, I love when I send the podcast invite out and I'm like, oh, 5 days. I'm like, other people sit on it, and they show up. And sometimes I'm like, wait, who was this? Yeah. So I love seeing people when I send it out who just jump right in. So I'm like, cool, let's do it, man. So
Yeah, well, send me the link again, and we'll schedule another talk. I'm sure
yeah,
there's more
right, dude.
content we can dive into.
Yeah. So this is cool. Don't hang up. We're going to
Okay,
say thank you for coming and thanks for sharing all that. I think so much value in that whole, by the way, there's so much value in that conversation, let alone donating or being part of it or
sure.
whatever. There's so much value in people hearing this conversation. It has to be had, right? So I appreciate it.
I
Thank you.
appreciate you. Thanks, Jerry.